Hey there, what's going on, Internet? My name is BlackLightAttack, and today I wanted to do a little video about making videos. And one question that I get asked a lot is, how do you edit Pokemon? How do you get that overlay over your stuff? How do you get that HUD? How do you do this? How do you do that? How do you do those little effects and stuff? And I figured that this week's episode would be a good way to show you guys some of the effects I use and how I get those done. And at this point, I've got this this whole editing thing down to a science. I can usually edit an episode once I have all the footage rendered out. I can usually edit an episode in about half an hour, which is pretty good, considering it used to take me hours back in the Leaf Green days. And on a really tricky episode, and especially if I screw up a couple times, it can take me up to about an hour. I think the longest one has taken me somewhere around an hour and a half. So altogether, not too bad. So obviously this video won't be that long. I'll be skipping around for you guys, but yeah, I guess let's start from the beginning. Also, one quick thing before we start, this is using this week's episode, so if you haven't watched that yet, go ahead and do that if you're interested in doing so. If you do watch the series, go ahead and watch that first, because there are spoilers for this week's episode in this video. So okay, so first things first, always we have to start and record our footage, and I use XSplit Broadcaster to record Pokemon. This is the only series that I ever record with XSplit, mostly just because I already have all my settings all set up. I have a nice little, I know that this is kind of giving you this buggy infinite, like, whoa, vortex kind of thing, but that's just because it's capping this screen, so then it caps that screen, and then that screen, etc, etc. So this is usually on my other monitor over here, which you guys are not seeing right now, which you guys can't see, but basically I have it set up so that XSplit only records this white box and not anything in the black bars above and below it. It's just a screen capture. And the reason that I use XSplit over my capture card, or actually my capture card would work, I should correct myself, but rather than using, say, Fraps or DxTory or Desmume's built-in recorder, is because XSplit is a screen capture program, not a footage capture. And the advantage there is that everything that I see, you see. And the key difference is in Desmume, or Desmume, however it's pronounced, when I use the speed up function, it doesn't speed it up in Desmume's recording. So if I fast forward through a fight, then, and on my end, it takes me 5 seconds to do that fight, but on Desmume's side, it takes 30 seconds to complete that fight. Then we have a major problem because the times are not matching up on my commentary versus how long the video is. So I use a screen capture of some sort. XSplit works, you can go with the free version. OBS is probably better. I do have OBS and I use it for streaming, but I just never set up the screen capture region, so I just don't use it. So obviously we go ahead and record the video. As for recording the audio, I record that at the same time with Windows Basic Sound Recorder. It's just pre-installed on Windows. You don't need anything fancy for that. That's actually what I'm recording this commentary on right now. Works fine, and it also has that nifty little timer so you can see how long your episode is running. So once that's all done, of course, we remember to save our file. I'm actually obviously not going to play the episode right now because I already have it recorded, but we of course remember to save our file, which I always remember to do. And when that's done, we save our file on XSplit, we save our recording, our voice recording, and then we go ahead and open up Sony Vegas, because this is when the editing starts. So the first thing we have to do is render out all of our footage, because the format that we record the emulator in is a little goofy. You can see here that I've got black bars all over the place, top and bottom. The screens are lined up right next to each other, and in my series they're actually split. So how do we do that? Well, I do that by actually rendering out the top screen and the bottom screen as two separate video files, and then using those to edit. So I just dropped this into a new program, or a new file rather, a new project. So I'm gonna go ahead and edit the properties. I have a 1280 by 720 resolution, square pixel aspect ratio, 30 frame rate preset. This is the preset that I use for YouTube for pretty much all of my videos, and we can go ahead and adjust that. Okay, we're good. But yeah, it seems things are still not quite lining up. We still have these two screens. So what do? We go to the event pan crop on the video timeline here, and what we do is we're going to isolate one of the screens here. I'll move this out of the way so you guys can see what effect that is having. You can see that it went from being about here to focusing in on this. And you can tell it's not exact. I have this little white border right here, which sucks, and that's all annoying. So I actually keep this zoom preset, flat top, there you go. And that's perfectly lined up and all that, so that now we only have the top screen. We still have these black bars on the side, though. We can fix that very simply, because this is not the right resolution. We want to render this out to a 720p resolution video. So we right-click the video track, go to its properties. I say properties, and we're going to unclick maintain aspect ratio, and that'll stretch it out to the aspect ratio of the project rather than the aspect ratio that the video file is originally in. So another thing we want to do in properties is always disable resample. Resampling will add a motion blur effect to your footage. It looks nice when you're working with real life footage, and it actually looks weird if you disable it on real life footage. But on video game footage, it does not work, and I unchecked this for all of my videos. So there's that. And then once this is done, all that's left to do, and we now have the entire top screen for the episode all set, start to finish. So we are going to go ahead and render as, and then render it out to, I usually save it as plat or platinum 25 top. This is episode 25. And then once that's done, we're just going to do the exact same thing, and you can actually do this easily. If you get the top screen done first, you can go ahead and hover over the move freely button and click it so that it changes to move in X only, and then just scroll, because this will only allow you to scroll left to right, so you can at least know that your Y-axis is good. And but once again, I don't have to worry about that because I have a preset. So there's that, and now you can see we have the bottom screen for the entire episode. Whole lot less action going on down here, but it is important for the way that I edit my videos. And then we're going to render that out into its own file as well. Save it as plat25 bottom. Now overall, rendering out those two videos for the footage takes about an hour altogether. Because the episodes are half an hour long, you generally can't render a video faster than the video is. Because my computer is very good, my render time is going to be the same as the length of the footage that I'm working with. I have a really good computer. I have an i7-3770K quad-core processor, GTX 670 video card, even though it doesn't really matter when it comes to video editing, 16 gigabytes of RAM. I have a really good computer. If you have a less good computer, you might want to find another method for this. I don't know what's available, but if it takes you like 5 hours to render a video or more, you know, even not more, then you're not going to want to render two separate videos before you actually get started on your video. But now that we have those two rendered out, we have our footage rendered out, we are going to open up our template. So we have the platinum template, and generally speaking, my template is just a previous episode that I saved. So I think this one is like, this is the one where the last one someone died. Who was it? Or no, I'm sorry, it was when we got a badge. No, it looks like this was the last episode. It looks like this was episode 24. I lied. And that badge remnant is still in there. But so basically, this is what my timeline looks like. I guess I can bring that up for you. This is what the timeline looks like. You know, we have quite a few tracks. I think a couple of them are redundant right now, so we can actually get rid of these, and it's not a big deal. And this. Okay, so that's good. So altogether, it's about 11 tracks. Some of them only have like one thing on them, but you can see the main advantage here is that I've already got the tracks all lined up, and I've already got my intro set up. And you guys may have noticed, I actually haven't gotten any comments on the new intro that happens when the overlay comes into play. So obviously you have my my little intro here. It's about 16 seconds long or something like that. Yeah, about 15 and a half seconds long with the spy and all the other classes in TF2. And then I have this little animation. This is the animation I'm talking about that nobody ever comments on. I'm doing this frame by frame, but it does the frame slide in, and then there's a white flash, and it makes a cool sound effect, and yada yada. But that would be a huge pain in the ass, timing that and syncing that up every time I edit an episode. So instead, I just have it in a template ready to go. So, and that's the as I said, last week's episode. So here's where our video tracks live, and this is going to be, if you look at it like this, the top one here is the top screen, then bottom screen, then the game audio on this track, and then my audio on the track below it, and obviously that's from last episode, so we can get rid of all that. This is also the screen layout from the last episode. More info on how that works later on. Okay, so we have the top and the bottom for platinum number 25. I can actually get rid of platinum 24. Yeah, done. Get rid of that. You can get rid of a lot of these actually, but I'm just going to leave them for now. So we drag the top into the timeline, drag the bottom into the timeline. It's going to create some unnecessary audio tracks because these both have the game audio track connected to them, and I don't need both, so just for the sake of keeping my stuff organized, there you go. So now we have top, bottom, soundtrack, and then of course we need my commentary, which lives somewhere else. These are all the commentaries I've recorded. Not all of them, actually. I actually lost a lot of them. Not that I really need them. I just hold on to all the old stuff just in case. Okay, and now here's one of my. Now that we have all this all together, obviously it's not going to be synced up quite perfectly, right? Because I record my video and my audio on 2 different programs. So how do we do that? I actually do. This is excuse me, an embarrassing little secret of mine. I do a little sync beep. I say beep beep or bloop or plink. I usually say plink at the beginning of Pokemon Platinum because I'm emulating the sound that of the unpause screen. So when I hit unpause, as you can see right here, I have the pause screen up. It kind of makes a little blink sound, so I say blink. And now let's see if we can line that up. Blink. Okay, so it's a little off. My blink came about a second afterwards. Actually, let's put it right to where it was. It might be good. Blink. See, they happen at about the same time. I know that I'm synced and ready to go. Actually, in that instance, I didn't need to sync at all because my timing was very close, but that rarely happens, so that's one trick you need to have. Okay, so there's my intro. It's kind of distracting hearing my own voice at the same time. The first thing that I like to do is look for any spots in my commentary where there's going to be a big blank, because that's usually a place where I need to speed up. So let's see here. Yep, so here we go. I actually already knew that was there because I saw it here, but I wanted to show you guys what it looks like. So here's a big blank, and this was the speed up for leveling. Actually, no, I'm sorry. There was something we had to do before that. You can see that my screen is way too big because my screen is the size of a normal screen. And the reason that you're seeing the screen through this here, the overlay, is actually just an image. This is a still image. It's a .png. It was done in Photoshop, and that remains static. It's a static image. It's not a piece of video or anything like that. And the issue here is that you can see that the screen is way too big. It's peeping through on this small screen. This image, as you can see, this little gray block mesh here, that represents that that's a transparent part of the image, and that's where you guys see the game screen. So, of course, I have presets, so I'm going to go ahead to the pan crop of the top screen, and I have another preset for that, and that will make it so that that is nice and centered and of the appropriate size. So let's go ahead and remove that so I can show you guys the difference there to there. And then, of course, we do the same thing with the bottom screen, because now it's just way too huge. There to there, and now we have the bottom screen lined up too. Perfect. And you can play with that. You're actually going to need to make your zoom bigger. Just play with it. You'll get it eventually. Let's see, what do we have here? What's this little screen? This is the badge. We're actually going to need that this episode because we did get a badge this episode. And then this down here was when I was leveling up our new Ampharos Wolfsmith. So let's listen to that. Let's get Wolfsmith leveled up. Okay, so that's about where the audio ends. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit S. If you put the little line thingy here, I forgot to call this, somewhere on your timeline and have a track highlighted, if you hit S, that will split the track. So we need to speed this up, so I'm going to go ahead and just split that. Okay, so we have 3 sections that need to be sped up, and the way you actually speed something up is by, you want to shorten it on the timeline obviously, but if you just shorten it, that actually just cuts it short rather than making it faster. So if you hold Control and then go to the edge of the piece of video and just shorten it, that will speed it up, and now we have a little bit of sped up video. Obviously we have to do the same for the bottom screen, Now this is actually still, if I look at this down here, it tells me it's still 9 seconds long. I guess that's okay, but I would like it to be a little bit faster, but unfortunately Sony Vegas will only take a piece of footage up to about 40% fast. No, I'm sorry, not 40%. 4 times faster than the base. So what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of all these tracks for now, so it's only the 2 video tracks, and then we're going to render this out by itself. We'll just call it speed up 1, and click render loop region only. The loop region rather is this little yellow triangle thing going on here, and that will render that out really quickly. And then we can take that and just drop that back into our project, right? And now that we have that done, we can just delete those, because that's what we just rendered. And now this is all one video file. We can shorten it even further, and now it's only, what, 2 seconds long. Still, that's a little too fast, so let's just make it overall about 5. There you go. So now we have this little speed up, and that's, that's pretty fast. That's pretty easy for the viewer to look at. We don't want to have them sit there too long listening to whatever goofy speed up music I choose for this one. And we can slide that over here. Okay, and now we have to do the same thing for the next one. Okay, so that should be our little speed up, level up session complete. So let's go ahead and just play that back. I decided the third one short enough that I don't really need to speed that up. So let's see if that looks good, because we always want to be able to fix it if we have to. Pow. Got the little pow. I'll put in some music in this later to make it sound less awkward. Double pow, of course. And okay, that's that sorted. And okay, that's that sorted, as I just said. And you know what I forgot to do was, what did I forget to do, folks? I forgot to disable resample. You always gotta disable resample. I could tell just by the video preview that there was going to be motion blur on that, so luckily we can just... I've gotten pretty quick at this. This is a lot of video clips to do that too, but there, done and done. Okay, so now we re-enable all those again. And it looks good, great, good, grand. Okay, next step. Next, I usually like to knock out the objective really quick. The objective very rarely changes in the course of an episode. Maybe once, twice, 3 times tops. So it's pretty easy to just, do that real quick, knock it out. So the objective, I think, to begin with is going to be defeat Candace, right? So now this is just a, as I told you before, the background is just a PNG with a big hole in the middle and the bottom right for the game screen. Well, the defeat Candace, any objective notes, the objective and the notes, I should say, are actually text files in Sony Vegas. So what I did at the beginning was, I need to remember that I'm working on a template here. But what I did at the beginning was I right-clicked on the timeline, hit Insert Media, typed, I don't know, do the Harlem Shake, and then of course, that's hardly outdated meme, but I had to make it readable, resize the text. I have some like kind of computerized looking text over here. I forget what it is. OCR ASTD is the one I use. This is just Arial, but now that's still too big at 26 points. Let's try to drop it down to 18, and then we drag it over here and just basically place it in the objectives window. Nice and simple. And then of course we need to resize it until it actually fits. Take it off the bold. Alright, there you go. And that's that. And then whenever it needs to change, we're just going to do a little transition, and I'll show you that in a second. So this one, defeat Candace, done and done. And the reason that this is really easy to do is because I can just skip around in the video until I see I have defeated Candace, and then I can change it to whatever I want after that. And actually, I guess what's our goal after that? Lake Acuity. I don't know if we actually got the Rock Climb HM yet. I can't remember. I think I did. Yeah, I just wasn't able to use it until I beat Candace. So somewhere around here. Well, great. You've earned my respect. Yada yada yada. Focus. Got the icicle badge. Okay. Okay, so once we found where we need to split the time, so right around here we want to change the objective because we beat Candace. Good job. So I actually need to split that and then copy and paste this previous objective text, because if we just split it and then change the second one, it'll change the first one as well. Just some weird quirk. And now when you take, actually let's remove this real quick. When you take two pieces of timeline footage and just squash them together like this, it'll automatically go into a fade, into a crossfade, where starting here, it's going to slowly fade into whatever I put in after that. So after I defeat Candace, my next goal is get bitches, obviously. Then it's going to slowly fade into get bitches. But I didn't like that slow fade because the kind of motif I was going for with the outline and border and design of this was that it was supposed to be sort of technologic robotic machine. It was supposed to be very machine-like. So we go to the transitions tab down here, and the one that I found works best for that sort of effect I'm looking for is Venetian blinds, 7 horizontal blinds, which is a preset Venetian blind fade, crossfade, and just drag and drop it onto the fade itself, and that will cause it to sort of do this cool little glitchy looking, you know, transition. So go from defeat Candace to get bitches, and that is the objectives done, because we only had one objective change in this episode. Okay, next step. Now, if you look at the background image, and as I said before, it's just a static image, you may notice that something's going to be a little weird from front to back, from start to finish. My team never changes, but if you watch this episode, you would know that there are definitely some, shall we say, involuntary team changes towards the end. So that needs to be fixed. So how do I change the background as we go along? Well, I'm glad you asked that, me. This is where Photoshop comes in. Where is it? Background.psd is the actual file where everything is kept. In here you can see my most recent Dex entry. We have the badges. We have the team listings here, the void, and all of this is all a different layer in Photoshop. This is a huge amount of layers here. Everything from this darker background to the lighter background to the border right here, to the little borders around each individual window, to the background of each individual window. It was a huge project to make. This probably took me somewhere around 15 hours total to build the first version of this. Now, the advantage to this is that it's all very organized in here, even if it doesn't look it, and that makes it very easy for me to edit it when it needs to be edited. So, the first thing we have to do before anything else is figure out what the first change we need to make is. So the easiest way to do that, I find, is to just basically scrub the footage, just go over it. There's a handy little slider that you can use down here that starts at...
There, what's going on internet?
Hold on.
BlackLightAttack. Welcome back. Welcome.
Sorry, that was distracting. I had to shut myself up. Starts at a 1 base rate, but you can slide it all the way up to 20 times the normal rate to scrub your footage. I usually tend to sit it at around 3.5, 4 times the normal rate, and as you just hold it, it'll just speed through the footage and let you just watch it all as it goes by. If you have a bad computer, the video preview isn't going to be able to keep up with this, and I apologize to anybody if that's your case, but let's see, was that the hatches? Did I miss the hatches? I can't remember if I hatched at the beginning or the end of this episode. I think it was the beginning. Okay, so that's just me exploring the town, yada yada, like Acuity. Okay, so the first change I'm going to need to make is I'm hatching, and as you guys may have noticed, as we hatch Pokemon, they appear in the decks. And the first thing I hatched was a Spinnerack. So I'm actually going to, and now here's to give credit where credit's due. I get most of my sprites from Bulbapedia. Bulbapedia has great rips of all the sprites that you need in Pokemon. So Spinnerack, we just type him in, and then scroll all the way to the bottom. They have all the battle sprites. I use the battle sprite in the front, and to stay true to the time frame, I always use the platinum sprite, never the black and white or the emerald sprite or whatever. Always go with the platinum sprite. Save image as. And I have a whole folder for platinum sprites. There's plenty of those. And then we are going to go back to Photoshop. And as you can see, right now, Dildo's in the Dex. Dildo, get the fuck out. We gotta find the layer that says Dex. Oh, I was highlighted on it the whole time. Okay, so I have two layers here that are pretty important to editing. That's Dex Subject, which is whatever is the subject at hand here, and Dex Text, which is, of course, the explanation right there. So I'm just going to go ahead and that wasn't correct. I'm just going to go ahead and delete the Dex Subject, and then we're going to open the Spinnerack sprite, wherever that may have gone. There it is. Little bugger. Okay, then Control V into that layer. Place him up there. He's a tiny little guy. The way I like to do it with new hatches, I usually put the Spinnerack, the name of the Pokemon, then whatever the species name is. This is a string spit Pokemon, and he's big poison. He's bug poison. And yeah, so now we have a little Dex pop-up of Spinnerack, and we are going to save this as a totally different image from the one it was just on. And whenever my team isn't affected and it's only like a Dex pop-up or something like that, I always save it as just background blank. So this is actually my 85th background change since I started this series, and that's not even counting team changes. So now we're back in the timeline, the Sony Vegas timeline, and I try to line it up for right when it pops out of the egg. We're gonna put a split in the video timeline for the background right here. Sorry, let me line that back up. Right there, and I'm going to import this new background that I just made. So I'll just import it. I'll insert it right here, and I like to leave it last a few seconds, because why the hell not? And I like to put a fader of about 10 frames on that. Just, you know, not too quick, not too slow. And of course, you know, the Venetian blinds once again, so that it gets that cool little fade-in, computerized sort of effect going on there. And there's that. So there, for about 16 seconds, we have a little image within the image timeline. And now the only difference between this image on this timeline here and this image on this timeline here is the fact that there's the Spinnerack Dex entry up here. So when the transition happens, the only difference we see is the difference in the Dex, because the rest of the image remains completely static. And that's why you only see the effect, the transition effect, also on the Dex. And that's a neat little trick that I came up with just playing in Vegas. I'm sure I'm not the only one to discover that, or put that to a similar use. But now, of course, we have another hatch coming up, and I think it was a Mareep. So I can go ahead and once again. And I like to time that. I didn't really care as much for Spinnerack because I think I forgot to give Spinnerack a nickname in this episode, which I have to fix later. But I like to time it so that the Dex entry fades out just as I end naming it, so that we kind of get a nice little, if you look at the bottom screen as well as the Dex, they both kind of fade out at the same time. That's just a little nitpick I like to have. So I'm going to continue scrubbing this footage, see if anything else pops up, something else I might want to put in the Dex or anything like that. So at this point, I'm not really seeing anything that requires a Dex entry, and a lot of time the Dex does stay blank in this series, but I guess the only thing really here that comes to mind is I could crack a joke about the snowballs. Here I'm just getting to Candace. I could do, yeah, let's do a Dex entry on Candace, why not? So again, once again, we're off to Bulbapedia. So the only thing that really came to my mind before that was maybe I could have used the Dex to like crack a joke about the snowballs or something, but honestly that's not that funny, and it's a little bit much effort for the joke, which I could just as easily put in the notes. It just seems a lot more efficient to do that there. You know, I really only use the Dex when it's informational, I guess. That was my intention anyway, but I ended up being kind of limited. It didn't really pan out the way I planned in my head because I have so little space to write info without making the text too small to read. So that is an issue, but and I also noticed that I'm pretty inconsistent with whether or not I do a dex entry on the gym leaders. Some of them I do, some of them I don't. I wish I had been more consistent with that from the beginning, but I guess it just slipped my mind. It's, I guess, not the biggest deal anyway. Okay, so we've arrived at the first change we need to make that is not dex related, and that is when Lance died. So here, I'm just going to hit M to make a marker here to remind myself when Lance died. Lance took a Shadow Ball from Frost Lass, and let's see, yeah. So for deaths, once again we go to Photoshop, and these are a little bit trickier. I actually need, I did a little effect to begin with that I started with, and I decided to stick with it for the rest of the series to make a little shade of the Pokemon that died when it dies, and then it just sort of gets escorted to the void. Its soul kind of gets sucked into the void. So what I need right here is a screenshot of Gardevoir in action. So if I hit save snapshot to file, just image 1 is fine because I won't need this again after this, and then I can just import that into Photoshop. Okay, done. So now we have a screenshot of the actual game battle, and that's important because I need to know exactly how big Gardevoir is, so I can match it up with another sprite from Bulbapedia. I swear to God, this is like the most useful thing ever. And of course they have all like the combat sprites and everything, so I'm gonna go ahead and grab Gardevoir's back sprite from the battle. There we go. And then I'm going to copy and paste that onto this screenshot, and I'm going to make it first go to image adjustments, and then black and white. Just go to black and white that. So now we have a little tiny black and white Gardevoir, and then I'm going to make it about 30% opaque, something like that, so that it's basically see-through. And then I'm just going to right click on it and go to the free transform, and then just try to get it to match up with this Gardevoir. And this takes a little bit because when you adjust one, the other ones get all messed up. It's just kind of a pain in the ass, but just a little bit of effort and you can get it pretty close. Okay, so that looks pretty good. You can barely see that, right? And going back, yeah, you can. You really can't see much. The only problem is that the back sprite actually extends a little bit below the text box, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit the select tool and grab everything below this black box. Just delete that. Okay, and now if we hide this layer, what we're left with is a little shade of Gardevoir. And that's going to be Gardevoir's soul. I'm actually going to make that a little bit darker, bump it up to about 40%. I don't think I really have a concrete number for this. I guess it depends on the sprite and what kind of colors it has. And I save everything as PNG. I always use PNG. I'm going to open up a previous Platinum and try to remember when the last time we had a death was. And I know, I can see just by looking at it, our last one was our Raichu, Jesse, but I can't remember what episode he died in, and I never can. Okay, so all together we have this little animation. The game footage isn't there, but this is back on episode 20. I opened up the file back. This is why I never throw away any of my files if I can help it. And this was the last time a Pokemon died, so we have this, of course, this little chime sound that this death toll that everybody loves so much. And that was that's the animation. Now, and the reason I'm going to copy and paste this is because I like things to be consistent. I would like the animation to be exactly the same every time, and you know, if I can help it. And so I'm actually going to copy and paste this right here, and there we have our little death animation. But obviously it's still Raichu because we copy and pasted the one from when Jesse died. So we are going to find the Raichu right there and just right click and replace in our media and navigate to where we saved the Gardevoir death animation. Okay. And that should line up just right. And there we go, we have a dead Gardevoir. Now, of course, another problem. We still have Gardevoir alive and well represented in our background, and we have no Gardevoir in the void. Once again, the answer is, everybody say it with me, Photoshop. So, the important thing, first off, we need to remember to do is to hide the Dex and Dex subject layers. Otherwise we're going to have a Dex subject pop up in the middle of the death animation. It's kind of weird because we want this blank, because remember at this point in the video this is also blank and we need to match the other one as closely as possible, the other file, the other image file, as closely as we can. Now you can see we get all the sprite layers. I don't know if you guys can read this. It's going to be really tiny text on your screen, but navigate all the way to sprite 3, and there we go. That's God of War, who is now dead. And that means we can just remove everything in sprite 3, sprite 3 type 1, which is psychic, and we don't have a type 2. So that's dead. And now, once again, the Bulbapedia to grab the small God of War sprite. Go ahead and paste that, bring it in here, and another Brave Soul joins the Void. I try to keep them all about the same size, but it is kind of impossible. You know, obviously Gyarados takes a lot more horizontal space than Choke does, but there you go. Okay, and so another one joins the Void, unfortunately, and that is another one. Now, in this case, my team actually changed, and just for the sake of keeping things simple and keeping it together as much as possible, I actually saved the background team changes as background team something or other. It's just a little quirk I have. I don't know. You don't really have to follow my organization standards. Just whatever you can do to keep all these images straight, because you're going to have a million of them. So once that happens, we do need to, of course, go ahead and change this here. Drag in our freshly photoshopped new background, hot off the press. As you can see here, we have a missing God of War and a God of War in the Void. So, once of course, we're going to do our transition. And boom, we should have exactly the effect that I'm looking for. Get the chime, fades into the Void, goes down on screen, and then of course it transfers into the, or transitions rather, into the new background. But of course we're not done because there is another death, so let's go ahead and take care of Mr. Linebeck. Okay, that should be Nido King / Linebeck taken care of. Yep, once again we got that same nice effect that I was looking for. Okay, and now there is at least one more major change. I know that there is going to be more changes to the team down the road, so I'm going to have to Photoshop more stuff there. Okay, so one last animation we need to do once that's all done. This is a special animation that also only happens every couple episodes, along with the deaths, is the badge animation. Whenever I get a badge, it sort of slowly appears real nice and big on screen, and then flips away to join the others in my badge case. That's displayed all nice and nifty on there. Gotta find exactly where we get the badge, because... oh, there it is. I like to start it exactly when the fanfare starts. Right about there. So we'll mark that. Okay, and bring this over here. And I know this is the wrong badge, but that's alright, we'll fix it in just a second. Okay, so we have that nice and lined up. I also have a little sound effect that I inserted. It's a nice little like shimmery. I think I ripped that off of one of the Pokemon move sound effects. It seemed appropriate. So now I actually have to go about my business of course, going to Bulbapedia, finding the badges. Now this actually doesn't work too nice unless I open it in Photoshop and then increase the canvas size to the size of the project that I'm working with, because it's actually only a 50 pixel size thing. It's hard to explain. Just forget I said anything. Okay, and then just simply replace that. And now we should have the animation with, of course, the Icicle badge, because I already have this all lined up. The way this works is it slowly fades in to here. You know, no problem. This is just where it's zoomed in, so it's the center of the screen, and it's nice and big. And then the second one right here is the same thing, but it actually has a little animation on this position, start to finish there, and it sort of spins around counterclockwise, I think, or maybe clockwise. I have no idea, to be honest with you, but. Except the issue is it needs to be spinning somewhere else. It needs to be spinning to this location. So we're going to go ahead and put that right there. Okay, let's just make sure that... Yep, there we go. Nice little animation there. And then, of course, ladies and gentlemen, we have to go back into Photoshop. Trust me, I do this a lot. And there's a layer around here somewhere. All badges. We got the badge border. Where's the badges? Okay, so we go to the badge shade thing here, and if I unclick that, you can see that it's just basically I have a little opaque filter over each badge that just keeps it darkened in the event that I don't have it. So right now all I have to do is highlight the badge shades layer and then just delete the badge shade that exists over the icicle badge, and that'll brighten that one right up, and that just leaves our 8th badge left to go, which is cool. And then we're going to save that, of course, since there was no change made to our team. It's going to be another background, so that's background 88. Boom, boom. Okay, let's make sure that that worked out all together. So, once more from the top. And then it just appears right there. Okay, so nice. It's not exactly the smoothest animation in the world, but you are pretty limited working with Sony Vegas. It's an unfortunate fact of life, but I believe that's everything until we hatch. So let's go ahead and just in case, let's scrub up until that point. Okay, so right here is the point where we took out Woolsmith, and now we get to see what it's like when we add a Pokemon to the list. So, of course, we do have a sprite for Mr. Mareep already. Now we're going to take this into, and now it doesn't really matter what order these Pokemon are in, since my Pokemon change order all the time. I'm not going to change my layout every time I choose to order my Pokemon. That's just a waste of energy, effort. Might as well just keep it the same. So go ahead and paste that in there. And even though it's not going to stay a Mareep, you know. So, you know, I just navigate to my Sprite 3 layer, which is, you know, layered properly between the border around it and the background, this little white grid thing. Actually, fun fact, this background was made almost entirely with other Pokemon resources. This was made, like, these are just modified versions of the menu, the touchpad menus in Pokemon Black and White. I think the background is from Pokemon Black and White, this like steel pattern kind of thing. Anyway, getting sidetracked. You can see the black and the white grids are from Black and White, but anyway, so we're gonna put Mareep in the little frame right there. I like to keep them facing it the way that they are, and we just crop off any parts that are sticking out from behind the border. Of course, don't worry, this does not hurt the Pokemon. You idiot. Then we open up our types. Mareep is, of course, electric type. And we just line that up. Now, obviously, to get... This is a little bit smaller than that, so... This is a little bit bigger than it needs to be, so I always just resize it based on what the other ones in the layout are at. And I position it... It's always... Okay, that's a perfect position. Actually, I got it right the first time. Okay, so since he's just electric and he doesn't have any secondary types, we don't need to add anything to that. And then, of course, we pulled out Jeanette, the Krogunk, so we're going to need fighting and poison types open. And we're going to need Krogunk sprite. Okay, so that's all edited. I did just insert Krogunk, but I decided to actually save these as separate so I could do sort of like 1-2 stutter update on each background. Does that already exist? 44 it is, okay. Now we can just bring Krogunk back. That will be number... Background team 45. And of course there's one more thing left to do, and that is get Ampharos up in here. Because we did evolve Mareep into an Ampharos via the rare candies, catching him leveling up. I'm really glad that I don't have to grind him at all, really. At least not to evolve him. Okay, and this should be the final product. So we have them all leveled up and everything. Okay, it should be all the Photoshop work we need done for this episode, which is always a relief. This always goes by pretty quick, though, because I'm usually listening to music during this and all. Of course, it's going a little bit slower because I have to explain myself, and I'm always terrible at being concise. You know, we'll see. So we need to see when exactly. I know it's just on it. I just missed it. Okay, so you can see right as I drop them in, boom. There's Mary, and then we got another one for Krogunk, right? Okay, there's that, and then of course there's going to be the last one when we get and Pharos going. Okay, it's just a quick little transition, barely even noticeable, but you know, it's a nice little touch to have. I'm just going to skip the middle evolution because who cares really? It only stayed as that for like a split second, but yeah, okay, so that should be all the Photoshop work that we need done. And let's just double check that. Yes, so that is everything, but there's one more step that we are missing. That is, of course, the notes. And I always leave this for last because this is the only step that I can't do when I'm listening to music or something in the background or watching videos. Game Grumps is a good thing to keep on when I'm editing long videos like this. And that is the notes, because I actually have to listen back to my own commentary because the notes are all jokes based on that commentary, sort of adding to that or detracting from it more often than not. So the first thing I always do is the hatches, because I have the little thank you notes on there. So I can tell this is a thank you note that I already have written down here. And once again, this is just like the objective notes, just a text insert in Sony Vegas itself. The objective and the notes are the only two things that are not done in Photoshop. Let's see here. So this is Spinnerack, and actually the way that I look up these and see who gave them to me is I have PokeGen, handy little program here. Okay, I get it. I can download the yada yada. Okay, so I always save my state as a DST file. Every time I'm done, I always go with the one before the episode I'm editing, and then I gotta figure out which egg I took. Let's see here. Okay, one of them was a box 4 egg. Let's see if it was Spinnerack view data. Spinnerack, yes it was. And the original trainer is Alex. So I can just look, you know, just by looking here, see which egg. Look here, see which egg. And you just do this. Spinnerack comes from Alex. Thanks, Alex. And Alex, thank you for your contribution of Spinnerack. I'm kind of curious about using it because it has decent offenses once it evolves, but I don't know, probably too squishy to use overall. And then of course there's the Mary, but I gotta figure out where I got that egg. And that was the first egg in box 1, easy enough. That was indeed the Mary, and Mary comes from Andrew. Okay, so now that the egg hatch shoutouts are done, that just leaves jokes pretty much, and there's really no faster way to do them but to just go through and listen to the jokes. Now, ever since I started using a template, I did realize that it's probably best to space out my jokes, and you can see that along the timeline visually that they're relatively evenly spaced out. None of them are really clustered up too much. And I find that it's best to usually throw in one note about every 2 minutes, because if you do any more than that, it just sort of gets overwhelming for the viewer. This is just sort of a guess number that I threw out there, but I just theorize if I do any more than that, it's gonna get kind of overwhelming to the viewer. They have to spend too much time looking at the notes and not listening to the commentary, and a lot of people don't even watch the screen when they're listening to it, so I don't want to put too much into that so that you're totally missing the experience if you're not watching the screen 24/7. So, you know, we just do this little joke section, and we don't overdo it. That's the key, is don't overdo it. So I tend to just take the existing ones as they are, search in that area for a place where I can insert a joke, like just listen to the commentary back. So like, let's see if we just hit play, let's see what we can come up with.
Oh, I want to hear a trendy saying, hell yeah. Oh, I want to hear a trendy saying, hell yeah. Contour! Wow, that's pretty trendy.
I could definitely come up with something for that. I'll think about it. But this is generally the slowest part of the process because I have to think about what I'm going to say. Usually it comes to me pretty quickly. These aren't uproariously funny anyway, but you know, go through and just check in the area. If I, you know, of course, if I go to say this one and I hit play and there's just nothing funny there, I'm like talking about game mechanics or something, there's really no jokes to crack there, then of course I'll just move it to somewhere else. Or if somewhere during the commentary there's just something that I could just crack a joke on very easily, then of course I'm going to do that. So that's pretty much it. I'll just be doing this, and then after that, the only thing left to do is put on the finishing touches, which is usually, you know, go here, make sure that that it ends right as I say goodbye. I always say goodbye. It's a funny thing, I just say goodbye at the end. So we crop off all the excess footage after that. I always have the last one. Check out the playlist in the description. That's always the last note. And then I always do, I believe, a 15-second, or a 15-frame rather, 15-frame fade. And the one key ingredient to success here is making sure that they all the tracks fade simultaneously. Because if you don't, it sort of looks disconcerted, because since there are so many things going into it. Oh no, I'm sorry, it's a 10-frame fade. If they don't all fade out at exactly the same starting point and end at exactly the same starting point, you get one. You'll get like the notes stay right longer than the rest of the video. It's weird. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and do these notes, and that'll be this episode. After that, there's really nothing to do but render it, upload it to YouTube, put in all the data and the ad information, and that's it. That's how you guys get Pokemon. So I hope this offered a little bit of insight. I know it's a really contrived method. There are probably much better methods than the one that I use to get the same results, but this is just the way that I learned it. I'm completely self-taught, and what works for me may not work for a lot of other people, but hopefully this gave you guys some insight on how to edit Pokemon, and especially when people ask me how background is, it's all Photoshop. When I say it's all Photoshop, I mean it's all Photoshop. So, and hopefully give you guys a little bit of appreciation of what goes into each episode, and the process that I've had to develop over the years of doing this, or year or so, I should say, of doing this. So, yeah, go ahead and leave me a like if you guys did enjoy the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.